Sandra Bullock's biggest film at the box office is The Proposal, which took in $128 million. It featured Bullock and co-star Ryan Reynolds in a farcical but obligatory nude scene, the first one for Bullock. Filmmaker Judd Apatow has made a career out of pushing the laugh envelope with flicks like Knocked Up, 40-Year-Old Virgin, and his latest movie, Funny People, hitting theaters next week. Funny People is about comedians who specialize in shock jokes, played by Adam Sandler and Seth Rogen. Sandler is a stand-up comic who discovers he has a terminal illness. Universal is paying Sandler a hefty sum, but the film's being promoted as the third film from director of 40-Year-Old Virgin and Knocked Up. In other words, the studio is promoting the filmmaker Apatow rather than the actor Sandler. Leslie Mann, Apatow's wife, who also starred in the movie, joked to the press at the premiere. There was a lot of filth, offensive filth. It wasn't family friendly. There was a lot of dirty, filthy stuff going on, she added. Well, she's joking, but it's not so funny, especially when life imitates art, like the unseemly news story recently concerning ESPN sportscaster Erin Andrews, who is being unwittingly featured in a nude internet video shot through a peephole while she was doing everyday tasks in her hotel room like curling her hair. Andrews is planning to sue somebody. But Apatow says, if you're making these smutty movies, you might as well go all the way and have what he calls a harder R. Well, we certainly have that in the inebriated diversion, The Hangover, about a bachelor party gone bad. It's now the highest grossing R-rated comedy ever. Its current box office of $237 million passed up the previous record holder, Beverly Hills Cop. That film made $235 million back in the 80s. For a quarter century, no R-rated comedy received more bucks until Wedding Crashers came along in 2005 and brought in $209 million. Katherine Heigl, the smart blonde from Grey's Anatomy, stars with Gerard Butler in a newly released movie called The Ugly Truth, which features lots of profanity, a Jell-O bikini scene, and some, I kid you not, Michael, vibrating panties. The film uses the battle of the sexes formula, with two main characters eventually owning up to the fact that they are smitten with each other. And the worst flick on the offensiveness scale is Sacha Baron Cohen's Bruno, a movie that has managed to tick off Christian groups, gay groups, and get banned in the Ukraine. Cohen loves to make fun of patriots, Christians, Southerners, and now Orthodox Jews. Ukraine banned Cohen's film because, according to the country, it would, quote, damage the morality of locals there. The Eastern European country specifically stated that shots of genitals and homosexual sex were unacceptable. Well, why isn't it unacceptable here? Well, thankfully, moviegoers are dumping Bruno, being something I call reverse word of mouth. Look, we need comedies to soothe our troubled souls in the age of Obama and Pelosi, especially in an era where countries ban talk show hosts for no rational reason. I guess we'll just have to rent one of those Marx DVDs. Oh, by the way, that's Groucho, not Carl. Thanks, Michael. Back to you, my friend.
Hey, thanks for the report, James. The entire canon of U.S. and European literature, what he has written, what Gates has written, is superior to the Eurocentric culture that you grew up with. Your Eurocentric culture is something of the past. You must evaluate black literature by the aesthetic criteria of its culture of origin, not criteria imported from Western or European cultural traditions. Because if you don't understand that a vocabulary that's limited to 50 or 40 words, that has no tenses in it, no subtlety in it, it ends in either MF or B, if you don't understand that, you're showing a tone deafness to the black cultural voice. And you are probably an intellectual racist, and therefore you need re-education in the Gates' America. That's why he's at Harvard. He's such a genius that they took him to Harvard to teach this stuff to your children. Your children come out brainwashed, hating themselves, hating America, hating the European tradition, hating businessmen. And that is why, because Gates is the man who knows everything. They understand the world you're in? You understand the world that we've devolved into? You understand how far we have fallen as a nation that a man like this could be at Harvard University? So there it is. It's all. You want a bigger conversation on race? That's one man's opinion. You just got it. That's all. You want another opinion? You can call me. I'll give you my further opinion on this guy. The cop was a saint as far as I'm concerned. In my day, would have gotten a shellacking with a billy club for a mouth like that on him. The cop asked him for his ID, this and that. The cop wouldn't even talk to him. Show me your ID. What would happen if you did that the next time you were pulled over for something and you started mouthing off to a cop, give me your ID? You ever learned? I learned when I was a teenager that if you pulled over, my friend's father taught us this. I guess Gates' father didn't teach him this. My friend's father taught all of us kids when we were 15, we're about to get a driver's license. He said, let me explain something to you. When you're pulled over by a cop, always be respectful, always show him your license, and don't become a wise guy. You're going to wind up arrested. That's what he taught us, that's all. He said, if you feel that it was wrong, you take it to the courts, and you argue it in a court. You don't argue with the officer. How come my friend's father knew that? A simple deli man. An appetizing man. How did he know that? But Henry Louis Gates Jr. didn't know that? I guess they don't teach him that at Harvard. In fact, the reverse is true, is that only if you don't know that, and only if you hate the police, and only if you hate Whitey, can you wind up teaching in Harvard. Certainly if you respect the white tradition, the cultural traditions of European Americanism, you want to put it to you that way, then you can't be at Harvard. In fact, you can't teach at all. As you well know, because of affirmative action, anybody who comes from that tradition is automatically suspect. Certainly couldn't work in the Obama administration unless you could garner from some money. Then, of course, you'll accept it. If you have those biases and you can bring in bags of money one way or the other, all right, then they'll look the other way. I'm so fed up with this Henry Louis Gates Jr. double talk con man. I can't take it anymore. I've had enough of this garbage. I grew up around these people. I know what it's like. I worked in a university. It's a con. All right, so the guy exploded at the cop, shot his mouth off, did the mama thing. And then, of course, Obama speaks up. He's the great legitimate Obama, the great president. And immediately the president says that the cop was wrong. They acted stupidly. Now, of course, to Obama's credit, now he's backtracking. He realizes he made a mistake. I mean, let's be fair. But it raises an issue of the president's judgment. And is he really ready for prime time? Who is he really? Where did this guy come from? Everyone's asking, how did an unknown senator, no one ever heard of him 2 years ago, you knew who he was? He cured polio? He cured cancer? He invented the transistor? No one knows him. He's president of the United States. I look at him, I see Alfred E. Newman Jr., by the way. This is the Savage Nation. With God's will in your listenership, I shall return.
Savage. Michael Savage. Afternoons 3 to 7 on Talk 910 KNEW and online at 910KNEW.com.